Hi, welcome to the Get Ready with God podcast. My name is Julie Taylor and I am your host, and I am not God. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not even a scriptorian. I'm literally just a girl sitting in front of a microphone hoping God is real. The Get Ready with God podcast is the daily devotional podcast to help you see divinity in every day. I did it on one breath. I've always wanted to try that. Thanks. I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for letting me try that. Thanks for listening to this podcast. It really is crazy that anyone listens. Genuinely shocked, appalled, and grateful. Okay, so I went to church today. It's Sunday and I went to church. Sometimes it's hard to go to church, you know? It's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Does anything matter? What else are we going to do? Might as well go to church. Actually, I can think of a lot of other things to do. And I actually sacrifice and choose to go to church. So let's not diminish that choice, okay? Anyways, my friend shared a thought. And again, going to take it and use it for content. So thanks, Berkeley. This one goes out to you. She shared about trying to see like divinity in her life and God's hand in her life, is I believe how she phrased it. She said when she like tried to think of a time, she couldn't think of a time, and that was wild because she knows that God has shown up for her in her life, but she couldn't think of a time. And then she said this phrase that I loved so much that I wrote down: we need to practice remembering. And I love that so much because there can be an assumption that, especially when you're in it. So say that like you really just saw divinity in your life in some way. When you're in that moment and the gratitude is so fresh, or the realization is so fresh, you just think it's something that you're always going to remember and trust and believe. And when I'm telling you, you will forget it so quickly. And if you're me, I will even deny it. I will straight up deny it. I will see an angel one day and deny that it happened the next. That is who I am at my core. And most days we're not seeing angels, right? Metaphorically, we're not having these huge divine interventions. We're not seeing huge miracles. Most days divinity is small and can go completely unnoticed, which is the whole point of this podcast, is to help you look for it, see it, and claim it. But I loved Berkeley's reminder of let's also practice remembering it. And I think some of that comes through speaking it and sharing it. Some of it comes through claiming it. One of my favorite mantras is claim the joy, because I think we claim the bad a lot more. We tell the hard stories, the bad stories more than we tell the good stories. We can take a lot of the good for granted, and joy is fleeting. And I don't mean that in such a dark way, but joy is fleeting. And so if we don't claim it in the moment, it will pass us by and we'll convince ourselves that it never happened at all. And I think the same goes with divinity and faith. And so these moments where you see divinity, and I hope you're having them, and I hope you're seeing them, and I hope you're speaking them. But when you see it, let's claim it. And let's document it in some way, because we need practice remembering. Otherwise, when people say, do you believe in God? We'll be able to very easily convince ourselves, no. What's God done for me lately? Nothing. Do you see what happened yesterday? Terrible. God has failed me. God has abandoned me. But let's practice remembering these moments of divinity that we're experiencing and finding every day. And let's claim it. Let's claim it. And then let's practice remembering. I just loved her phrasing of that, like practice remembering, because we don't think of it that way. At least I don't. Like remembering is just something that happens or it doesn't. You either remember it or you don't. I think about this a lot because I work for a photo book company. And so we talk a lot about photos and reminiscing and memories and the importance of them. I spent a lot of time thinking about this and remembering and what remembering can do for you. And there's quite a bit of data to support how important to your psyche and your identity and your belonging and your sense of self and your confidence and everything remembering is. But specifically with faith, with feelings of having faith and maybe believing in God. Or when the choice becomes a little easier for me, there are times in my life when I feel kind of powered up, where it's like, yeah, I see God, I know God, I love God, and the choice to believe feels easier at certain times than it does others. And when it gets more challenging, it's hard for me to convince myself that there is ever a time in the past, present, or future where believing will be possible again. Even though we've all had experiences where we have evidence to prove that things will become okay again, in some semblance of that term. But we need practice remembering our faith. We need practice remembering the times when God shows up. We need practice remembering the times when we were able to believe. We need practice remembering the little ways that God shows up for us each day. And as we practice that, you'll hear things like a gratitude practice, like a meditation practice. It's a practice because we're practicing. We're trying to get better and better at it. It's an experience. It's an action that we're taking. And so to view remembering as a practice and as something that can be practiced, I thought was really, really powerful. And it's something that I'm going to be thinking about a lot in the next few weeks. I can just tell it's like the way it's rolling around in my head. I want to practice remembering. And honestly, feedback about the podcast has been the most rewarding thing of anything I've ever created. Hearing people's experiences, and it's not because of me. It's not because people are saying, "Oh, you're so great." They're telling me about what has happened in their lives because of what they learned through their own experiences that maybe the podcast triggered. And that is my greatest hope of like, I want to spend this 10 minutes with you every day. And then I want all of us just to have divinity top of mind. And that's all we have to do. If we just put it in our mind, God will do the rest. It's incredible to see what can happen when you choose to intentionally prioritize divinity in a way of just being open and inviting the possibility of what could happen. Just saying, what if God is real? What if divinity showed up? What if when you put those thoughts in your mind, things will happen? And I know that's a tangent, but it's all been on my mind. It's all been on my mind. But I want us to practice remembering. So we're not just looking for the divinity in each day now. We're also going to practice remembering the divinity that's in each day right now. And the reason I started this tangent is because I have seen this in my life. It feels very self-indulgent to show up and do this podcast because, the whole reason I started this practice of looking for divinity is because I was in a time in my life when I could not find it, and I was heartbroken to be facing a reality in which maybe there was no hope and God was not real, because I've been there before and I didn't want to go back there. And so I became determined to trust that divinity was there, and I became determined to find it. And that's how this practice of searching for divinity every day was born. And now I've been doing that practice for almost 2 years, but getting to show up here and articulate it with you, me saying it out loud, has helped me practice remembering in a way where the last week has been really rough for me faith-wise. And I can kind of scroll back at and look at episode titles and be like, oh, but I did feel that, or I did experience that, or I did say that. And this podcast has been a practice of remembering for me and a way to document the experience and the findings in a way that is harder for me to deny and to pretend like it didn't happen. So the whole thing feels like a very self-indulgent practice of finding divinity and remembering divinity. So thanks for giving me a spot. Thanks for coming on this journey. Thank you for continually engaging in the rigorous, uncomfortable pursuit of divinity in your life. I do think we're better off for it. I think that the benefits we don't even understand yet, and a lot of them I don't think are tangible. But you're making a choice to use your precious, precious attention and capacity and free will to look for, find, and remember divinity in your life. And I know that will be rewarded in a way that I hope is full of peace and hope and joy and light and the ability to carry on, even when things are hard and uncomfortable. And even when it seems like divinity is gone. Your practice looking for it, your practice finding it, and your practice remembering it, I think will help you through. Love you. Bye.